Hey everyone, welcome back to Bros and Shows. I'm your host, Josiah, aka Mauler67. And with me, as always, you know I got my buddy, I got my pal, I got my top boy, my good down crew, I got my brother Austin. Austin, how you doing today?
I'm not doing too bad. That's pretty good. I like that. I like that intro you did.
I gotta remember all of it. I gotta learn it all so
He's
I
my
can...
rotten soldier. He's
my
my
rotten soldier, my good time boy.
mm-hmm.
I gotta
Yeah.
remember those all. But Austin, how are
Yes.
you? How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Not too bad. Just working like always, and pretty much that's it.
Hey,
I haven't really done too much.
That's what life is, man. Just
Oh,
working.
oh.
That's it.
Yes. Yeah. No, I've been watching. Lately. I've been, after watching this, I've been watching two series right now. One is Chucky. I've been watching the Chucky series now. And then I watched Make Some Noise. I am a huge fan of Make Some Noise now, so I've been watching. I've gotten like maybe a couple episodes in now. I love that show. I love Brandon Lee Mulligan, and I love the Zach kid. I think Zach is hilarious. And,
Zach's pretty good.
I forget the other one.
I've been really liking Jason Wysocki.
Is he the one with like he's the big guy?
He's the bigger guy. Yep.
Yeah, he's good too.
He makes me laugh all the time on that.
Man. And then there's another one. I forget who it was, but I remember his bit, and his bit was amazing. But it was the Macbeth. It was the sandwich from McDonald's. They were like, come up with the ad sponsor. He has like a mustache.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I forget his name, but he's part of the improvised Shakespeare group. Which we saw actually.
Yeah.
So improvised Shakespeare is not just a single show. Like it's not like a touring show. It's this production that is done in different improv groups. We watched improvised Shakespeare when we were. Oh wait, that wasn't you.
That wasn't me.
I realized as I was saying it, I'm like, when we were in Chicago. Wait, I never went with Austin. No, when
I have been to Chicago with you, but
when me and Matt Sanders and my friend Josue Santana, we went to watch Hey Riddle Riddle live show, which is a improv riddle podcast. We went and watched Second City, World News Tonight, and no, the IO Theater, I think was it. What was it called at that point? IO Theater. We watched World News Tonight and Improvised Shakespeare, and the reason why I was so hyper to watch Improvised Shakespeare is because I'm also a big fan of geesh, my brain's going kind of south real quickly. I'm a big fan of Hello from Match Tavern. And Matt Young, the person who voices Usador, is part of the Improvised Shakespeare group. And so that's why I was so excited to watch it and to enjoy it. And anytime I hear or find out that other people are part of an Improvised Shakespeare organization anywhere, I instantly know that they're going to be, one, quick-witted as can be, two, really good with rhymes, because that's the whole point of Improvised Shakespeare, is being able to like say your lines in a way that rhyme, and just like absolute fun. And he's one of those people. So I'm glad you're playing that. I'm glad you're watching that, because I'm a big fan of Dropout. I'm very big on like trying to get other people to watch it, especially if you enjoy comedy or free range stuff, like not so much skit oriented, not skit, like script oriented, because they do have skitted content, but they're mainly like improvisational or like game show kind of deal thing. Because of like actually Austin, you should also check out Play It By Ear.
I've actually looked at that. I was gonna start that soon.
That has two other podcasters I love, Zach and Jess. And actually, it's phenomenal to see them like on camera, because I'm used to them only in my headphones, and then seeing them on camera, and I'm just like, it's so weird to see a face to a voice.
Yes.
And they're doing the same thing just with a little bit of a twist. And I can't wait for multiple episodes of that to come out because I really enjoy that too. And it also makes me really wish for other guests to appear. Like they recently got Wayne Brady on there.
Yeah. Because he was also on Make Some Noise.
Yep. Well, no. He was only on Make Some Noise. I was talking about Dropout as
well.
They got Wayne Brady to show up. They also got Carlos Exposito, the guy who plays Saul.
Carlos Exposito.
Thank you,
Gus.
Yeah, I almost said Saul, but yeah.
Oh,
Gus.
I didn't know that.
He wasn't in. He was on in an episode of Actually.
Yeah. I knew. I would think that's the only one that he would probably be part of. So
and they have like things like that. But the funny thing is that Actually episode he's on is actually the original concept for Make Some Noise.
Oh,
because Make Some Noise was created as a spin-off because they did an episode with Brandley Mulligan, Zach, and I forget the other guy's name, but he's good too. And it was them just getting props to do improv stuff. And it was so good that they kept bringing it back. And then one of the times they brought it back, they got him on as a ringer for the show. I think I could be wrong. They also got the guy from the robot, the cop movie that everyone loves, his sound effects. I can't think of his name.
Oh, the guy from Police Academy.
That's it, Police Academy.
Wow, why am I drawing a blank too? It's something Williams Jones or something like that.
They got him. They got him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's
good.
fantastic. Samurai is well connected with a lot of improv people, and I have like a list of people that I'm like, please bring them.
Oh no, I would totally love to see Matt Young, because Matt Young has done he's done improvisation.
Oh yeah.
For Hello from the Magic Tavern, but he did one of my the other podcast that I just got done finishing like a while ago, and I don't know if there's like new episodes. I don't think there is. I think they just did like 1 or 2 seasons, but it's called Improvised Star Trek. Which is really good. I love it.
That was
hilarious.
That was way before Hello from the Magic Tavern. I listened to that. I loved that too. I thought it was fantastic. That was very well done.
I actually turned him. So Mikey, Mikey, so I got him in the Hello Magic Tavern, but then he started spanning out with those people, and he's like, "Hey, have you listened to Hey Riddle Riddle?" And I said, "Yes, I have listened to Hey Riddle Riddle." And he's like, "I love this." And then he showed me, he showed me the improvised Star Trek. He was like, "You have to listen to this. You're a huge Trekkie. You'll love it." And I was like, okay. And then he showed me one other podcast he did. It was like some space podcast too, but it was like X something, whatever. I listened to one episode with him one time, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And now he's starting to get into Dropout because I've been sending him clips.
Yeah.
And I was that's
Austin, you figured out my motive, man. Anytime I see Dropout clips, I'm sending it to my friends, because I'm like, sooner or later they're going to bite. They're going to be like, that was really funny. What is this from? Yeah. And then they're going to bite, and it worked.
Yeah, it did. Especially with me and Mikey, because Mikey now wants to watch things from Dropout.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, "Do you have Dropout?" And he's like, "No, I don't." And I was like, "Ah, man." I was like, "I'm actually thinking about buying my own service so that I can share it with you." And I said, but the thing is like, I want the best thing that he really likes. He likes Game Changers, and he's seen an episode of Make Some Noise with me, and he was like, this Brandon Lee Mulligan guy is hilarious. And I was like, yeah, he's probably one of the best on there. I was like, there is a lot more that I think that are really good.
His energy is what a lot of people love. Like I will admit, like Brandon Lee Mulligan's energy is I'm here for, and he's not the only one. Like there's a lot of people that I'm like, okay, straight up, this person's really great. This person's really great. Yeah. But Brandon has the the
charisma.
He has the charisma. The other ones do too. The difference is that like he gets all those viral moments with his rants and his ability to rant improv wise, and that's what makes him so popular, is because he is able to do that. And it's so like, I don't want to say photogenic, but whatever that is, where it's like clip it, boom, that goes viral on its own. Just him by himself.
Yeah.
And the other improvers are fantastic, but it's like improv, so you have to have the context for a couple things.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I've been listening to a lot of YouTube Gang Grumps episodes with Ben Schwartz.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Schwartz knows Sam Reich, and I'm just like, please, I want Ben on, and furthermore, I want Ben on make some noise or play it by ear also, because he's been a guest on that podcast, and it's probably one of my favorite episodes I've ever heard of theirs. So I just, like I said, I just have a list of people. I'm going to stop it here, Austin, because this isn't what we're here to talk about. We're at 12 minutes, and we're sitting here ranting about Dropout and everything. I could talk about it forever and enjoy the smudge out of it. But Austin, we're going to talk about some precursors to dropping out, some high school hooligans doing their own thing. Ooh. Austin, we watched Fright Crew. I almost said Fright Night. Fright Crew this season at HBO. Peacock original? Peacock?
No.
Peacock?
No, it's a Hulu original, but it's produced by DreamWorks. DreamWorks did like Shrek and all those other ones too.
I was seeing it somewhere that it's on Peacock as well, and so I was like, oh, maybe it's... I guess maybe Peacock is partnered with DreamWorks.
They are. So like DreamWorks actually doesn't have their own streaming service. So like they came up with this concept and they did it with 3 different services. It was Paramount, Peacock, and Hulu. But most people are watching it on Hulu supposedly because
Hulu is the best one for TV shows in my opinion.
Well, Hulu around this time has a thing called Huluween, which a lot of people love. What it does is it categorizes like certain there's certain Hulu originals that come out around that time. Okay. And there's a movie that everyone's been talking about. I forget, but it's about a house. So I was like, oh, okay.
Like most horror. Most horror is about like a house.
Yeah, like some type of house.
Don't go in that house; it's haunted.
Those houses. I always like that's like
these
my favorite.
These damn kids always going in there trying.
The prospector that warns everyone about what's going to happen. He's like, Jason Voorhees is out there. Don't be going for that pot, And they'll be like, oh man, there's some good weed out here supposedly.
We're gonna get this pot. Oh no, we're dying.
Oh man. So then, so they had it on 3 different services. The other thing is who produced this and who wrote this is also, if you're a horror movie fan, this guy, and so it drew a lot of people to this series. That is Eli Roth. Eli Roth is famously known for the Hostel movies. I don't know if you ever heard of the Hostel movies.
I know of the Hostel movie. I've seen only the first one, and then I was like, okay, look, I'm not a huge torture porn person. I'm good with the first one. Peace out.
His movies are more shock and awe. Like his last movie he ever did, if I remember, the last one I watched in theaters was called Green Inferno, and it was a love letter from a movie back in the 60s called Hannibal Holocaust, which was about like these cannibalistic tribes that eat people. And that movie was considered like one of the craziest movies of all time, because what happened with that movie is, and why Eli Roth remade it as a love letter in Green Inferno, which I don't think Green Inferno is that great of a movie. Like it had the gore factor. That's Eli Roth. But the guy that directed that movie and wrote that movie paid his actors to keep in hiding until the movie was like brought out in theaters, like after theaters, because he wanted to have this realization, because when people watched the movie, it was kind of really realistic of like, some of the deaths that were going on and stuff.
It's like the element of the Blair Witch, where they tried to make it super realistic enough that...
Yeah, that's what he did, and it got to a point where the police actually arrested that director and writer and charged him with their murders, like these actors' murders, and he was like, no, I didn't kill him. And he's like, well, they never returned, and they're like, oh no. Come to find out, he actually had to get one of them to come out of hiding to be like, hey, this is actually just a movie thing that we're doing, and like, we were paid not to like show up, so people like get that scare factor. So then Eli Roth made Green Inferno like a couple years ago, and he was like, yeah, it's because I love Hannibal Holocaust. So we're like, oh, okay. But Eli Roth is a huge person in the horror genre. Like, people love him. So when I found out that he was, when I saw this ad on Hulu, I saw them, and then I was like, oh, this looks interesting. Josiah likes animation. this would be something perfect that me and him could watch for spooky season. And then I realized, I was like, this is done by Eli Roth. I'm definitely down to watch it now. So this is why I picked this to watch, because we just got done with watching what did we finish? Oh, it was What We Do in the Shadows. But before that, it was Steven Universe. So it was my turn.
Interview with the Vampire.
Interview with the Vampire. That's right. And then you were like, "Hey, what should we watch?" And I was like, "Yeah, we should do Fright Crew." So Fright Crew. What did you think of Fright Crew? Because I've been really dying to see what you thought of it, because I know that you like animation, and you can do a lot more stuff in animated things than you can in like a real life setting. So I wanted to know your thoughts on it.
Okay. I would, okay, the best way I can say is I didn't hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple gripes with it that became more and more annoying at the very last like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
This is what I'll say about it, right? This to me would be peak Saturday morning cartoon. Like if you got me whenever I was like 10, 12, 13, even 14 or 15, like when Kim Possible was on there and this bad boy came on, I'd be turning my channel to it. I'd be watching it hardcore. It is solid. I enjoy it. As a Molly knocked over my thing. As me now, there's a couple things I'm kind of like, ooh, is this okay, right? Or is that not okay? But overall, like, I enjoyed it. Would I watch it? Yeah, sure. Oh, for sure. Just the little gripes I had were repeatable. And I don't know if it was DreamWorks decisions or if it's their way to do, but that there was a couple things that I have issues in, and we can completely go into details about it whenever the time comes. But as it goes now, I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was solid. I would have kids watch it. And honestly, because of the style of it, my brain the whole time was thinking Saturday morning cartoon. This, even though it deals with the concept of spookiness and whatnot, I don't feel like the concept of it is so out of the loop that it can't be a like year-round cartoon. Like they could license it off and get it playing throughout the entire year. It doesn't have to be just Halloween.
I think that's their whole gist, probably, that they're going to do. I think the only reason that they did it during this time because they knew Halloween was happening, and it's a perfect time. People are looking for that scary stuff.
Yep.
Especially around this time, because that's like me. I am a huge fan of that around October time. I love the fall setting. I'm like, Over the Garden Wall. I already watched, and I've been watching some of my horror films that I've been wanting to watch, and then I'm watching Chucky. I just told you that. So the thing is it's a good setting, and I'm with you on that. Actually, I'm 100% with you on that. I feel the same way. There is a couple things that I did have problems with in the show. One of them actually is the animation for me a little bit.
That was a big thing for me. It reminded me of Flash animations that you would find on Newground.
It reminds me of a show that's called Little Cosby's, where it looks like they're cut out, like kind of like how for sure. Were.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know. I think if they just went with a full animation instead of doing that, I would have probably really enjoyed it, because it kind of sometimes took my eyes. Like it hurt my like way of thinking things. I don't know why. Animation does that sometimes. Like, Jinju Ite, when we did, is that how you pronounce his name? Jinju Ito. When we did his, I said that I like the anime style and I like the thing, but once it did like a 3D style thing, it like took me out of that story a little bit. And I feel like that's how it felt sometimes, where like some scenes were great and then they do that little stutter thing and it just kind of knocks me out of that animation for a minute.
That's like part of the thing. Like you would see traditional kind of like animation, and then you would also see at some point like I call it like the elbow like loop, where it's like the arm is just completely, and then they run. And it's like,
that's
and I noticed that too. That was probably my biggest gripe with, because like that's the thing, right? I love animation, and nothing will proc me more than watching animation, fully rendered animation. When it comes to like flash animations and things like that, I know it's like you have different models that were drawn and then they were cut out individual, like in areas, and then done over. And I can't help but watch this and see it, and I don't know if it's 100% that. I assume it was, because me and you both saw it, and that's why I'm like, as a kid, I wouldn't notice that. I wouldn't have paid attention, nor would I care. As an adult, I noticed that because I've watched other things. Yeah, okay. That doesn't make me feel as bad now, knowing that you also had that. That was my reoccurring gripe through it, and I did feel like in the last 2 to 3 episodes, it became very noticeable.
Yeah, it got to a point where it was too much for me a little bit.
Yeah.
Where I did binge watch this show. I binge watched it because it was, it was only it was like 10 episodes, and they were like 20 minutes long. So I binged it. I was like, yeah, whatever. But the problem that I have is like, you have to keep me entertained enough in my eyes to say, hey, and sometimes the animation would do that, and it just like took me out of that premise. And I'm like, okay, I got to refocus and get back into it. One of my other gripes with the show actually too is man, I'm trying to think which gripe I should go with, because the thing is one gripe is like a big gripe, and then the other one is that. So a funny gripe actually is the whole tree thing where they spill blood on it.
Oh yeah.
The first thing that happened when it started glowing red or whatever, it reminded me of Ferngully. Do you remember the Ferngully tree?
Oh yeah, Tim Curry. Toxic love.
Toxic love. Like it. When it started happening, I just thought of Ferngully. I was like, is this going to be the whole premise of Ferngully? Like, but
so you know what's funny to me, right? I was getting, for me, the other gripe I had, which everything else was good, and I don't want this to just be us like being like, it's not as great as this, because it's solid. I do have like one concern off to the side, and I'm not the person to make that concern. Nor am I the person to, like, I just want to see if like, hey, are people okay with this? But the gripe I have is honestly the storytelling. In some aspects of it, seemed almost like it's like this concept of like people just not thinking what they can do, and then bad things happen. Like the whole like, oh, I'm a descendant from the one the Queen of Voodoo. Oh, I just so happen to be pricked here, and that's what releases this person. Like it's because it's my blood that this person gets released. And I remember like when I was watching, I'm like, well, that seems like a really stupid like prison, that the only thing to release this monstrous demon was a drop of your blood. And it's not even like a drop of the original person's blood, it's her descendants. That to me is the worst protection ritual I've ever seen, and it made me laugh whenever I realized that's what was happening. And then like the other thing that made me real mad is whenever they're in the conference room in the, I think it's 3rd to last episode, and they're like, look at this. Oh, the necromancer saw the last thing. Oh, here's this. And the kid's watching it and being like, oh no, and there's the ghost there. And my brain instantly went, pop out and say he's lying. And then take them to the spirit realm. Why is this?
That's my big gripe.
I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
It was just driving the plot.
It was so frustrating.
It frustrated me. I hate when people do that. It drives me nuts where it's like, just communicate. Like, if you are trying to solve this big problem and you can solve it, what you should have just done is drop out and be like, he's lying, I can prove it. And then take the leader of the what was it? I forget how
the leader and the
Ruggaroo or whatever.
Ruggaroo and the vampires. Yeah.
Well,
basically what he does in the last episode, he should have realized it earlier, because he did it earlier with what's his face? that's my issue, right? That scene works if it happens before he figures he can take other people into the realm. Yeah. It does not work afterwards.
No,
nor does it work if that is the actual answer to the issue. The fact that they ended it with like him being like, I'm going to show them, and he takes them, I'm like, you could have done this at the original meme.
You would have stopped so much murder.
In fact, if he would have showed himself saying that he's lying to them, you know they all would believe him, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why is not because, oh, we don't believe our friend. It's because they know he is blessed by the undead person, you know? Like, he's helped both of those people. Yep. They would have been open to it. And then the fact that the other kids just stay up in the attic, I'm like, why are you staying there? All your friends are here. There's only one normal guy. He's just the mayor. Oh, sure, there's the demon there. But also remember, it's one demon versus all your friends. I was like, what is this? And then like the son's like, how dare you sneak into my house? How dare you say that my dad's doing this bad stuff? And it's like, bro, your dad's the mayor. He knows about this stuff. And you're mad at your friends for telling you the truth about this stuff, and you believe your dad?
Plus, you're in the secret room that you didn't know
that existed. Your house.
And you look at the bed, and there's sulfur. Like, there's a dude here. Like
a dead body, sulfur. They have some weird artifact. It's just like,
there was that's what I said. I'm with you on the same page.
That is why I said as a kid I would love the show, because my kid brain would just be like, oh, how are they going to solve this? Oh, how are they going to solve this, right? But my adult brain, perceiving and understand the things, got frustrated watching that. Yeah. And I was watching it, just chilling on my bed, and I'm just like, this feeling of frustration is hurting me.
Yeah, and the thing is that did take me out of it for a while. And the other thing that took me out of it is like when the Rougarou, or however you pronounce Rougarou, went to go fight at the end. They said that they can. A couple episodes ago, the leader said that how they can smell. What was it, chamomile?
No. They're allergic to chamomile. They will.
But they can smell it by a certain distance. He says that. He's like, that's why we don't get close. So then when they show up, they're like, this whole place is covered in it. And I was like,
you don't
say. Like, you just said 2 episodes ago that you know that when it's present, like, you know, you can smell it out.
Yeah. And
now you're walking into this knowing that.
The whole concept of them fighting makes no freaking sense.
Yeah, it doesn't
like, it's like, oh, you killed our pack leader, we'll murder you. And then they're like, oh, well, we're going to defend ourselves. Like, we're going to do all this stuff. And it's just like, why? And then the fact that their reasoning, their legit reasoning initially for believing that guy, for believing the mayor, is because he's been keeping the peace for so long. Now he's literally picking our place of combat. So much for peacekeeping there, mayor. Like,
yeah, the thing is like,
there was writing done in this show that I'm like, as a kid, wouldn't have cared for it. As an adult, it made it a little frustrating for me to watch. That's my honesty. Concept, loved it. I liked the concept. As a kid, that would have got me instantly.
The demon was great. I like that he preyed on fear, and that's how he was.
Yeah,
I understand that. That was a really cool concept, and I like that concept. That's one of the things I love, is when you're like, what does he prey on? He preys on our fear. So it's not the first time everyone's done it. Like, the first time really that everyone.
I love that Pennywise came back for this.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But it was a cool concept. I like the art design with the demon. I thought it was really cool. It kind of reminded me of Hellraiser, actually, Pinhead. Because I don't know if you remember Hellraiser. I remember.
I never watched it. We had Grandma's one video of it, but I don't remember anything of it. Other than we would watch it for a single sex scene, I think it was, and we thought we were bad boys for doing it.
Yeah,
we were just idiots.
The whole concept is like, you get trapped in a cube, and then you're brought out, and then you have to feed on people to get back to the way you were. So like she would like lure guys up there, and then she'd kill them, and then like he would suck out, eat their flesh.
Okay.
But the only reason I ever watched that movie was because of that. But when I got older, I had all those VHSs. Like, you know what? I'm gonna watch it. So I watched it, and then I got all the way to the tunnel part, and then an episode of Dragon Ball Z popped up because we accidentally recorded over.
Yeah, I know. I did that to almost every VHS that's in the house. Once I found out how to like
put a piece of tape
over it so that way it could record. Yeah.
Yep,
didn't matter what it was. It was getting something on. I had like 17 VHSs of like Adult Swim, After Hours for anime all over the place.
Kids. You didn't know the struggle, man. Like when we wanted to watch Dragon Ball Z, it was 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning on weekdays, and it was
an hour. It was like 3 o'clock. It would air.
Yeah.
But we lived 15 minutes away from the school, but our bus would take us an hour to get us home.
Yeah.
So we never got home on time. So what we would do.
Dragon Ball Z, like we had local channels at that.
No, I'm talking about whenever we had cable. Whenever we got cable and we were recording, I would ask Mom before she leaves to pop it in because she would leave at like 12. Yeah. And I'm like, this is a 6-hour tape. It will catch it. Just pop it in, have it on this channel, just hit record. She'd be like, yeah, sure. Yeah, we started it with Digimon. We were doing it with Digimon during the Myos arc. I remember that because I was so upset because it was on Sundays and my mom and dad would always force us to church and we weren't home for it, so I would pop it in and record it. And we missed the ending of the episode where Myosmon dies because the tape ran out and I was so furious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anyways, Fright Night, man.
Once.
Oh, okay, you gotta go. Oh, wow, I didn't even notice. Austin's in there preparing to go into quiet mode to talk to his wife. But yeah, like.
Okay.
Yeah, those were my gripes with the show. Like I said, as a kid, loved it. I would be 100% cool with watching this with my child. Like if my child wanted to watch this, I would be like, cool, fantastic, let's freaking watch it. It's awesome. And I would have no issue. As just an adult watching it, it's like, it's lacking on those little things, but it's not enough to me to say like it's bad. It's definitely not bad. I think it's a very good show. I do want to say it reminds me of the 2002 era of cartoons, like Saturday morning cartoons. That's what I was getting the whole time.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's fine. Like some of my favorite shows are from there, but if I'm being honest, I don't rewatch those shows.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that those shows are terrible or bad. It's just that like they're a product of their time. I'm not going to rewatch My Life as a Teenage Robot, even though I love that show. I've seen it. I enjoy it. But I don't get the urge to rewatch it.
Now there is one more gripe that I have.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I feel like one of them has a power that is kind of useless in a way, but it also is good at certain points, but it's not good around.
Some of their power distribution in this show was very confusing to me.
Because like pretty much the main girl can put fire and air, and then of course she can do water because they said that.
She said that. I'm pretty sure. I'm like, okay, cool. We got an Avatar state. That's cool. That's perfectly fine.
So she's always around the girl with the strength, and now she's a Ragaru. Like that's someone that you're gonna have around all the time.
That personally,
those have powers.
When that happened to her, I was kind of like, well, that seems like you're kind of like throwing a bottle of water in the ocean, right? Like, you're giving this girl who already has super strength a super strength form, but it doesn't seem like it it doesn't like compound.
Yeah.
Because she goes to Roguru, and then another Roguru is able to like handle her for a while. So it's like, okay, she isn't like super strength of super strength. She's just that. I'm like, they should have gave that to the one smart guy. That would have been great to have. Is that he has to control himself, but
because that's the thing. The guy that touches things and then he can tell certain things is, I'm sorry, but it is a waste of a power. Like it's a cool power. It's a cool power, and it has its presence.
Yeah.
And certain things that were good, but you're not going to be like, hey, dude, you should go on the battlefield with us.
Well,
except
the one thing
that one time.
The one thing is, well, I thought the show was going to be after the vampire nightclub one, is him touching the enemies to figure out how to defeat them.
Yeah, that's
why I thought he was going to be, but he kind of turned into a glorified puzzle solver by the end of it. Like, he was touching safes and being like, the combination is 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, and it's like, okay, that's cool. I'm glad you're here to help us with that. And then it doesn't matter because the girl just rips it off with her super strength. So it's like, okay, that's what makes me feel like, you know, they always do this in the like cartoon shows where certain characters will not be very powerful, and then they'll figure out a way to make them more powerful with their powers.
I think that's what's going to happen in season 2.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Because the main girl is pretty OP. Like, she's pretty OP.
I would say of the 4 of them,
yeah,
she's number 2. In the terms of power.
Super strength is going to be number 1.
Yeah, super strength is number 1, and transform.
But the rest but the other 2, their powers,
they're pretty lackluster. They are.
Or the 3, you know, like, I can go to the death realm. Hold on.
The death realm is a solid 3 for me. I still think the fire one is all good. 3 can be better if he learns to control it, because they need to explain some things, right? If he goes invisible, awesome. Is he still touchable in the ghost realm for people? Wait, no, he is, because we see it in the first episode when he accidentally bumps into them. But then there's other scenes where he's not bumping into them in the ghost realm, and that doesn't make sense. So they need to explain that. Invisibility, good power. Visibility in the ghost realm, good power. The fact he can still listen and do everything, good power. I'm waiting for them to do straight up possession level stuff, where he can either become possessed to like learn or do stuff, or he can start like commanding the dead to like come forth and helping them.
That would be great. Or it'd be like a dream realm thing, kind of like Freddy, where he can like bring people into that world and then have the ghosts fight them and stuff like that. Like, that'd be kind of cool. I'd be liking that. But the other 2, like, one has like the ability for like the information.
And then the other one, he knows all languages.
Yeah, which is cool, but really in reality, it's for fighting though. It just doesn't make sense when they go into the fight. I'm like, why are you fighting this? Like, you have vampires in Rougarou, and then you have a demon.
It very much hits me in the same way of like Captain Planet Heart, you know, where it's just like earth, wind, fire, water, and then he's like heart. Like, what does your power do? Heart beam. That's not really a concept, buddy. Now, I could see them powering him up to be able to communicate with them anywhere. Like, he's able to actually like telepathically connect with people and like maybe psychically project or something like that. That makes it power a lot better.
Or his languages speak in like he can speak any language that's not just any language. It's like monster language.
Well, no, he does.
Like he does. But like,
he also speaks snakes, because he talks with the snakes.
Right.
He also talks with all the spiders. Like, he learns about all the spiders. He talks to the Rangaroos. He knows to talk to every language.
He just took the potion of animal speaking.
Yeah.
So.
but what I'm saying is, like, his power can be useful if they ever actually do it. Like, imagine if he spoke with all those the monsters that attacked the nightclub. Like, I think what he needs to do is start collecting friends, essentially, which I think is that they're going to do, and then he's going to essentially summon his friends to help him. And that, cool, solid. The smart guy, unless he suddenly starts grabbing things and start figuring out like how to MacGyver bombs out of nowhere to like help his friends, I'm at a loss for how he can be more useful. He's a cool character. I like him probably the most because of how chill and down to earth. And
I think what would save him is like him learning how to make weapons. Like, because he can make any weapon around him. He'd just be like,
you know what I say?
MacGyver.
You know what was a failed attempt in this show? He should have been the one. He should have touched the symbol and know exactly what the ritual was.
Yeah.
That would be that would be beneficial. Like, oh no, these rituals are happening. He touches it. This is a ritual, blah, 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 blah. In order to stop this, we're going to need to do blah, 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 blah. Like, make him be the commander of the group, telling people what to do, figuring stuff out. But instead, they have the main girl kind of going around doing stuff. And it's kind of like, come on, mate.
I think what will make or break this show really is next season. So next season they have to start doing stuff because this is like more of an origins. Usually one seasons I can understand where like, they put it out, they see what they're feeling out their audience, and they're like, okay, let's see if this is good for a sequel or a season 2. And I think that if they don't make a season 2 that's a little bit more tight and more, because the thing is they led up to it. They led up to another season, and
for sure.
That's great.
Oh, that's
but the thing is this is where they have to explain a lot of things, and they have to make certain characters certain ways, because it's kind of like how I always felt with so there is a like DC I always have a problem with their animated movies. I think some of their animated movies are great, but there is some problems I have with DC animated movies because of one character, and that is because, and it's one of the most popular characters of all time, and that is DC came out with an animated movie called Dark Justice League, and it had like Constantine, Abra, and like a whole bunch of other ones. And I was like, this is a good concept. I like the story. But then they put Batman in there, and you're like, why is Batman here?
Why are you here?
And pretty much the whole time he was like, oh, I can't take that. I can't take DNA from a ghost. It's kind of like Batman sitting in a tree while everyone fights, because Batman can't fight the supernatural because he doesn't have powers like that. But the reason why DC ever said that they put him in that movie is because they're like, well, we've realized that we can sell more things if Batman's in them. And I'm like, that's stupid. That's putting someone in things because you don't believe in the faith of that ruins it for it. And it never got a sequel. But this is how I feel with this too, is like, there has to be characters that will be able to fight in fights that they're having, especially with a demon, to a certain way. Like, they have to use and utilize those powers to make sure that it's believable enough that these people can stand their own.
Yep.
And I just feel like the first two, like what we talked about, the first two actually.
First two can handle themselves. The third one at least can be functional in a fight, not like he's not going to be doing anything. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
But
it feels like a weird.
But the best things about this show that I loved, getting past all the gripes and stuff, this is a great show, and I think it's great for kids. Like, it targets kids. I thought it was going to be a little bit more graphic. I didn't know what was going on when we went to go watch this show. I thought it was going to be, Eli Roth is known for Hostel, so everyone's like, it's going to be brutal. And in reality, it wasn't. And you're like, oh, it's just his story. And I think James Fry, I think, is the other guy. It's just a story for kids. And I think this was targeted towards kids for the Halloween stuff, because there's a lot of Halloween stuff that sometimes, like, take for example, there's not a lot of horror movies that a lot of kids watch and they're like, oh my gosh, like, they're terrified. So I think that he made this to be like, hey, there's a cartoon that you can watch during that. Like, the only cartoons that I know that are fall time are Over the Garden Wall, Gravity Falls, and Fright Crew, and maybe a couple more that I can name. But the thing is like, I like how they targeted the kids. I understand why certain things didn't make sense, and I get that. It's a kid show. It's made by DreamWorks, the people that made Shrek. Let's be real. So I'm okay with it. I think that they just need to fix that stuff. The animation had a problem with, but some of the cool action scenes I really enjoyed. I liked the whole vampire doing this nightclub, and they do not drink people's blood. They have donations of blood, which Interview with a Vampire was kind of like that too, because the one guy lets some feed off of him.
So that wasn't like a gripe or anything with me, but it was definitely like, this is a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah,
because
they don't want to show
no one
people
dies.
Yeah,
you never see any type of inflictable wound. Even when the one dude like cuts his hand, like even when the guy cuts his hand, like cuts off, and I'm just like,
there is one person that does die in the show, but they kind of like allude to it, but then they turn the camera so you don't see the whole thing.
Yeah, well, it just explodes, which when I was watching it, my brain instantly went, vampires blow up? Like, I know about turn to ashes, but they just like explode. Like,
oh man. Oh my gosh, now since you said that to me for some odd reason, I gotta do it. Okay, so every time there's like a vampire thing that happens, and it's like, it's just funny to me. Like when he exploded, I kind of laughed about it. I was like, what the heck? It reminds me of an episode which we're going to actually start talking about here soon. Is a Treehouse of Horrors episode where actually Daniel Radcliffe is in, the guy that's Harry Potter.
Yeah.
There's an episode where like Bart, or no, Lisa. It's like a Twilight movie skit where she falls in love with Daniel Radcliffe, and she's about to be turned. And like he goes to bite her, and then Homer shows up and says, "No, you're not gonna bite my daughter. If you're gonna bite anyone, bite me." And he pulls down, and the dad vampire and Daniel Radcliffe are like, "Okay." So then they bite him, and they both look at each other, oh, and he's like, "That man was full of a lot of cholesterol," you know. And then Homer's like, "Yes, and not the good kind." So when that explosion happened, I thought of that, and I was like, "Not the good kind." He exploded. But this show was pretty good. Carl Weezer was in this show, the guy that does the voice for Carl Weezer. He was the leader of the Rougarou, and the dead brother Malcolm was Dutch from Red Dead Redemption 2. When he came on and started talking, I was like, "Oh dang, Dutch! I can't,
who can't alert the Pinkertons?"
Pinkertons, yeah, that's what I was. My butt cheeks are too big, and they just won't stop from clapping. Yeah, so this show is completely targeted at kids, and I get it. Like, it's fine. Yeah. I always wanted shows like that when I was a kid, because growing up, they didn't really target kids unless it was a cartoon show. They never got in the realm of scariness with kids, really. Except for like...
They did, but a lot of those shows were, again, in that 2000-ish era of cartoon shows. And they didn't really last as long as the other ones, like Recess or whatnot, that lasted a lot longer. The shows of like the more horror themed ones, or not really horror, but like the spooky themed ones, tend to only be like 1 or 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's why I hope that this goes for a while, and there's like, they deal with this for a while, because it's something cool that, like, if I was a kid and I was trying to watch something and this would have came up when I was a kid, I'd be so awesome with it, because one of my favorite things that I watched when I was a kid, which I shouldn't have watched when I was a kid, was Tales from the Crypt. And the only reason I ever watched Tales from the Crypt is because of my grandma, because that will always be a memory for me, because my grandma would let me come out and watch Tales from the Crypt when she had HBO. And and I'll never forget the day that she died, because I remember watching an episode of Tales of the Crypt in her bed, her hospital bed, when she was dying of cancer. And it always stuck with me. So like, it brings like that joy that I have when something like this happens. It's like, man, I would have loved this when I was a kid. I know I would have loved this, and it was great.
For sure. This would have been a iconic show for me as a kid to watch.
Yeah.
It's funny. I Googled search spooky cartoon shows, and a couple of them popped up, and I was like, yeah, no, I agree. Like Courage the Cowardly Dog. I'm like, yep, this is kind of on the same level.
Courage, yep.
All Real Monsters, Invader Zim, Scooby Doo, bam, right there. That's the.
I love All Real Monsters too.
Yeah, and like I was like looking at them, I'm like, yeah, this is.
You could probably put Gargoyles on there a little bit.
Gargoyles is on the list. Yep. Yeah. Trick or Treat.
Which they're coming out with the new Gargoyles, which is great. I'm happy.
Yeah, and like, so it's like, this is a thing.
Goosebumps.
This stuff, definitely the way I would explain it, right? This animation and everything reminds me of Fox Kids cartoon back in the day.
Fox 28 Kids Club. That's what it was. Yep.
It's like Recess. Recess was Disney technically.
Yeah, so it was more of like Power Rangers and what was it? Tailspin. No, Tailspin was on ABC6 too. Oh no, Tailspin and Goof Troop were on Fox at the time, because they had like a thing, because ABC6 didn't really have cartoons until later on in the 2000s. Then they started doing that, because Disney had a falling out in 2000 with the Goof Troop thing with Fox. Because I remember that's what ruined Fox Kids, is because of that, because they moved everything from DuckTales to Goof Troop to ABC6 with Recess, and that ruined Fox Kids, because they had like Bobby's World and a whole bunch of other ones I remember now. But yeah, I watched a whole video actually on that.
What's interesting is, like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, maybe I'm not thinking of Like, maybe I am thinking of Disney shows. Because like the one issue we had growing up, why it's kind of hard for me to nail this right, is that we didn't have like cable or anything, so we watched like ABC,
Antenna TV,
Disney, and Antenna TV, right? And NBC had Disney shows on it. So did Fox.
Yep.
But it wasn't the actual Fox and Disney, like NBC, who owned those shows. It was more of like, hey, our local show outsources their Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like, well, which one's
there
which?
There was only 2 channels that had cartoons. It was ABC and then it was Fox Kids. Yeah. And I remember Fox Kids because everyone loved Fox Kids because it did have DuckTales and Conan the Barbarian, a whole bunch of stuff.
And if we were really lucky and we got the antenna to work, it was storming out, and it was like, mercury was in the microwave, we would get Kids WB.
Yep, Kids WB.
And I always prayed for that because they would have Pokemon on it.
The frog that had like the top hat and the little like cane. Oh, my baby. Yeah, we would get Pokemon. We would. I remember that.
I remember recording, and I was able to get one episode, and it was the Hunter episode whenever Ash was going to catch Hunter. Anyways, sorry, that's besides the point. We started going down memory lane.
Tales of the Jillaway.
The only thing, the last thing I'll say about this show, and why I felt a little weird watching it, is So I went down to New Orleans, right, with my friends whenever we did Mez, and my friend Mikey, she was explaining how like voodoo kind of has this culture where people have been like taking it and using it for the horror, spooky, witchy stuff, but they're not like, they don't do respect for it. They're like insensitively using it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And most of the time it ends up to be like white people who end up doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're not doing proper like respects to the individuals for it. And so whenever I started watching this, and like they're like showing voodoo, they're showing all the different beings and whatnot, and I'm like, is this okay? I don't know. I'm not the person to make this argument, right? Nor am I the one to say like who went into all this stuff. From the outset of someone who doesn't know anything about the religion, right, and looking in, I'm like, they seem to be doing it in a more sensitive approach. Like they're showing respect, they're showing all this stuff, but I also don't know. I don't have all that information to make that talk and claim.
I can't say the talk and claim, but I will say this. After I watched the show, I watched TikToks of other people that talked about this. And I've seen multiple people on TikTok talk about how they finally did justice with this, where they're like, hey, it was brought into a sensible light instead of this spooky, scary voodoo stuff.
Yeah. So that was the thing that I was kind of feeling as I was watching it. I'm like, it's not like, oh, voodoo is this
evil demonic thing that you raise the dead.
It's much more of like, hey, their guidance. There's people who care about it. Like it's a part of their world. It's not something that is.
Well, that's just the thing of when people have something like that, they're afraid of new or these weird ideas that people have, but they have the same weird idea people have of their beliefs. So when this belief became this way, I think this is a really good rendition of showing that this is a good style of saying, hey, these voodoo people are helping. Because most people think of voodoo because of 2 horror films that make that voodoo, and that's Candyman. And then the other one is aka Chucky. Because Chucky, possesses a doll by using the voodoo of whatever, Maktuatu, I forget his name. He says it multiple times in the show. And I was like, this is stupid. But that's the thing, is they put that in the scary category, and I'm glad that they made a show where it's not really in the scary category. It's just like, hey, these voodoo gods are actually helping these children defeat an evil in the world that they know is evil. And I like that. I like that concept. That's like the same way with Sandman. like death, the Grim Reaper, but actually in reality, you come to find out that she's not really mean. She's there to guide someone to the afterlife. And that's what I like about that. So I do understand where you're coming from, but I've watched a bunch of TikToks of other people saying that this is a really good representation of this.
Again, that was nothing more than me being like, I don't know. I'm not the one to make this statement or anything like that. And I'm like, I don't know the okay or I just wanted to say that was something that I was kind of tossing in my brain a little bit. And I was like, I wanted to reach out to my friend and be like, hey, do you think this is a good representation of it and see what he thinks? Or if like, would you be okay with this? But hey, I mean, I enjoyed it. If it got through all this stuff and it's not getting like panned for doing it, they must be like, people must be okay with it.
What's really cool is I actually looked up a lot of things about the show, and a lot of people love this show. They're gonna get a second season. I know it for because the thing is it's been everywhere. Every time after I search Fright Crew up on TikTok, it's like every other thing in my algorithm's like, hey, this show is great. This show is great. Why haven't people been watching the show? And I'm like, it's a kid show, and a lot of people don't watch animation, period. But the thing is I think this is a great kid show that I would have loved when I was a kid. Now, as an adult, my brain thinks differently, and so there's a lot of plot holes in certain things. But I still enjoyed it. Like I had fun after I watched it. It was good. It was good. Like I can look past that crap.
I would watch it with
done it for years. Yeah, I would.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
That's my. All right, Austin. I think that basically does it for this episode of Bros and Shows. Yeah. Next week we're going to do like kind of these are basically two specials. What we're going to do, instead of doing like two shows in a row, what we're going to do is we're going to watch through all the Tree Houses of Horror. Next week we're going to do episode 1 through 17. It's basically a season in its own, each of the episodes, and we're going to just talk about them, talk about our favorite ones, and which ones hit, which ones don't, and which ones pretty good. And it basically, Treehouse Horror is like anthology Simpson episodes. They're standalone, they have fun, and they're great, and you can find them all on Huluween, as Austin put it. They have like a special playlist for it that you can just watch
on Hulu.
Oh, I thought that's what you said.
No, Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. Okay, do it on Disney Plus, not on Hulu. Do it on
Disney Plus. If right now Disney Plus has a thing where like if you go in the search bar and you just hit the search bar, it will actually come up Halloween collections. If you click on Halloween collections, if you look down, it said Treehouse of Horrors, and it has all the episodes. Now the problem that you have, it does not go to the next Treehouse of Horror episode. It goes to the next episode of The Simpsons. So you have to back out and click it again, which is terrible. I don't know if it will happen to anyone that's new. It might just be me, because I do watch a lot of episodes of The Simpsons, like as background noise sometimes. So, it might work where it goes to the next Treehouse of Horror, but they do have that collection. So you just have to click it. And I think there's like, 37? I think it was like
there's 35 seasons of The Simpsons.
35, yeah. 35, and then they started in season 3. I think it was season 3 that they started that.
Something like that.
Yeah, because I remember the first Treehouse.
Season 2. Season 2, episode 3 is the first Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah. Yep. Because that's
34
I remember
seasons
that.
technically.
Yep.
All right, Austin. I think that's pretty great.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for stopping by, Austin. Thank you so much for watching the show, and I'll see you next time when we watch Treehouse of Horror. Yeah. And to everyone else there watching us and enjoying with us, thank you all so much for stopping by, and thank you all so much for tuning in.